I first want to bring on friend of the program, obviously best-selling author, the creator of some of the most successful documentaries in American history, author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Hillary's America, and now author of the brand new book, The Big Lie, Exposing the Nazi Roots of the American Left, Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh, thanks so much for joining the show. Appreciate it.
Hey, Ben. It's a pleasure. Good to be on the show.
So I just want to jump right into the book because I think that there's a lot of material in there that's vital for people to know. The left is constantly suggesting that folks on the right are Nazis, and we've seen them use this as an excuse for punching people. We've seen them use this as an excuse for opposing politicians they don't like. But essentially, you make the contention in your book, The Big Lie, Exposing the Nazi Roots of the American Left, that the American left is significantly more tied to Nazism, to National Socialism, than the American right. So what's the basic case for that?
Well, I'm making a contemporary case that is sitting on top of a historical case. And the contemporary case is very simple, that fascism at its core is the ideology of the centralized state. Mussolini put it very well when he said, nothing outside the state. The individual is, in a sense, subordinate to a collective power. Well, that doesn't sound like modern American conservatism. It sounds a lot more like the ideology of the progressive left. Second, fascist tactics. Now, if we go and watch these Antifa guys, the so-called anti-fascists, they wear costumes, they wear masks and hoods, they carry weapons, they not only block people and burn things and use violence, but they use intimidation. They're trying to terrorize people into submission and into silence. They're trying to control the debate in the public square and on campus. Now, does this sound like fascists? This sounds a lot like Hitler's brown shirts or Mussolini's black shirts, with the only difference being that the old fascists admitted who they were and the new fascists are posing as anti-fascists.
Well, Dinesh, some of what seems to me to be the problem in terms of the political lexicon is that European politics and American politics are completely dissimilar. And so the Nazis may have been right-wing in comparison to the communists, but that doesn't mean that they're right-wing in comparison to American conservatives. They're far left in comparison to American conservatives. And you would see members of the conservative parties in Germany, people like von Papen, people like Hindenburg, all these members of the so-called conservative parties in Germany who were largely in favor of big government, opposing the communists and supporting Hitler's regime. And so a lot of people have translated that over to say, okay, well, American conservatism and German conservatism circa 1932 are exactly the same. But as you make clear in the book, that's not really the case at all.
Yeah, I think we have to back up a little further because the first fascist regime in the world was not Hitler, it was Mussolini. Mussolini, in a sense, was the founder of fascism as a political phenomenon. Now, Mussolini was a lifelong Marxist, he was a socialist, and his fascism grew out of that. In other words, Mussolini saw that the prophecies of Marx were not coming true. And he thought that part of the reason for that is that people's loyalty wasn't just based on class, it was also based on their love of nation. And so Mussolini began to marry the concepts of nationalism with socialism, creating, if you will, national socialism. Later, of course, Hitler called himself a national socialist. Now, what's remarkable is that now, when we look back at all that, the left has performed a kind of sleight of hand. They've taken the socialism out of National Socialism. They've forgotten that these phenomena were on the left, and they've sort of moved them into the right-wing column where they can conveniently use it to bash Republicans, conservatives, and Christians.
Now, Dinesh, in your book, The Big Lie, obviously the big question that Democrats are going to be asking is a question they asked to Jonah Goldberg when liberal fascism came out, which is, are you really suggesting that today's Democratic Party are genocidal monsters who want to commit Holocaust? Because there is this sort of rule on the internet, Godwin's law, that whoever invokes the Nazis first loses the argument. Now, there's no question the left has invoked the Nazis first. I mean, they keep saying that Donald Trump is some sort of Hitlerian proto-fascist. But, the question is going to be, when you say that the Nazi roots of the American left exist, are you suggesting that the left is okay with the Holocaust? Are you suggesting that the modern left would be okay with the Holocaust? How do you take on that particular issue?
After World War II, fascism and Nazism became ineradicably stained with the reputation of Holocaust, with Auschwitz and so on. And we look at those things now in that way. It's almost difficult for us to understand why anybody would be a fascist, given that this is what fascists did. Let's remember that that's not how fascism was perceived in Italy in the 20s or in Germany in the 30s. And so part of what I try to do is recover that original meaning of fascism and of Nazism. even the left, when they say that Trump is a Nazi, they're not saying that Trump has started a world war and killed 6 million Jews. What they're saying is that Trump resembles Hitler circa 1933. In other words, Hitler was a demagogue who promised the restoration of Germany. Trump is promising to make America great again. We're really arguing about fascism in its sort of original or germinal phase. Now, what I'm saying is that there is a whole history of progressivism and of the Democratic Party being in bed with fascism and even early Nazism that was covered up after World War II, and I bring all that secret history to light in the book.
And the book, again, is The Big Lie, Exposing the Nazi Roots of the American Left. Dinesh, last question for you, because I know that you have a really busy schedule today. The book was just released yesterday. So what do you hope to accomplish with the book? Because obviously the left is going to claim that you're just trying to pander to the base and that you're trying to sell books by using inflammatory language. But what's your goal here?
Well, my goal in Hillary's America, the previous book and movie, was to take away the race card from the left, which I felt that they were playing illegitimately against people, us, who are not racist. And here I want to take away the fascism card, and not just take it away, but expose a whole facet of American history that, as you may say, been swept under the rug. I think if people recognize that fascism is truly a phenomenon of the left and not of the right, my book will have done its work.
The book, again, is The Big Lie, Exposing the Nazi Roots of the American Left. It came out yesterday. It's already soaring up the Amazon bestseller list. Let's make it a New York Times bestseller as well. Dinesh, really enjoying the book. I'm in the middle of it right now. And thanks for all the great work that you're doing out there. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay.